hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Refresh Point. My name is Ben, and as always, I'm joined by my constant co-host, Steve. Steve, how is it going?
It's going great, buddy. It's the last full week of work before a long and hopefully successful trip to Japan. So I'm at peak motivation, and we're playing a heck of a lot of Weiss Schwarz.
Yeah, I'm doing the exact opposite of that. What I am doing is editing all of BCS Philly because some unfortunate, we'll say, events occurred, cutting our my work time, at least on this, from the anticipated approximately 3 weeks to the next 3 days. So yeah, I'll be right on that. Today we're going to be incredibly late reacting to the restriction list update, and Steve is going to talk about his deck for Worlds after you shuffle your deck, tap or cut, and we'll get right into the refresh point with some breaking news. New restriction, it's here, and as I called out, and that Alex very funnily pointed out in the YouTube comments, with the power of hindsight from the future, listening to us bet on the restriction list beforehand, they could let the 1/1 live. But it's only just alive. You get one of them for Overlord.
Yeah, which one of us said that?
It was me.
Nice.
You said that there was no way.
All right, well, we're trading off our abilities to predict the future, and I will say I'm very pleased with the restricts that were provided and the unrestricts that were provided. So this probably isn't breaking news at this point.
Yeah,
if you are tightly,
we'll call it the stale news segment.
Yeah,
I'll just add more work. I'll make the music like lower pitched, like slower.
yeah.
This is old news.
Yeah.
In our old news segment,
it's possible that if you're don't have your finger on the pulse of the competitive scene, that maybe you were unaware. But
that's kind of unlikely if you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, the real ones, obviously, they know. But yes. So we got restricts for Bang Dream and Hololive and Overlord, and we got unrestricts for SAO, which doesn't matter in any meaningful way.
What do you mean?
They would have to unrestrict all of it, and it still wouldn't matter.
What do you mean? You got Alice
so
back.
Now, yeah. So the upside here, if we could talk about the least meta relevant portion of this whole business, yes. Now you can play 4 of the 2 on Alice, and you can't play the 1/0. This is basically the mirror of the restriction JP. What this means is that now you can play a worse Miron on the same timing.
But you have like cool double combos with Mother's Rosario.
That's true.
You can have like a 1-2-3 combo that doesn't feel horrible.
Yeah,
technically.
So you can
have like a bar. You can have like a bar choice kind of thing going on.
Yes. So hypothetically, because you have 2 different finishers that use Mother's Rosario, and you have a level 1 combo that also uses Mother's Rosario.
I think 2 of them at least.
What?
Aren't there 2 Mother's 1 combos?
I mean, the other ones we don't talk about because they're both keyword and trait locked. But
sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
There's one that checks 5 and adds a guy, so that's kind of the one you're playing.
Okay. Yeah.
The 2 finishers are both sort of keyword. One is keyword awkward because it's from a million years ago. And
didn't they print a new one in like some Bunko set?
They did, but it doesn't use Mother's Rosario. It uses its own choice.
Oh,
so
never mind.
Yeah.
All right. Never mind.
So there's a deck that can be played that is better than the deck that could be played before it was there. Is it meta relevant? No. Will it matter at Worlds? No. But it's cool that they did it. So good news there. So SAO goes from unplayable to slightly less unplayable, which is cool.
And we have also got, mildly more importantly, Bang Dream got the JP restrict.
Yep.
As was foretold, as was expected.
Yep.
And then Overlord got a restrict. One of the funniest things ever. There's just not enough Overlord players absolutely ripping it and hitting people with it in the format, and they want to let the people cook. Now then, what does this mean for the future after Overlord Set 3? But for Worlds at least, we have a 1-1. And we even get our choice of brides or the, what is it, Yuri.
Yuri, correct. So the brides were never restricted. It's the 1 Shall tier that was the other choice card. But obviously you wouldn't run the brides without her. So yes, Overlord, it has to go down to 1/1/1 Iron support, and in exchange you get back either the 1 Shall tier that lets you clock a vampire bride from the waiting room to draw a card up to 3 times per turn, or you can play the Yuri, which is a 2/1 4K that becomes a 10K if you have a full field, and lets you draw 2 and discard 2, and if it's the 5th character on stage, you get to refund the cost of the card.
Do you need full field for the power? I thought it was 2 or more.
You definitely need full field for the power. So problematic in a few ways to keep the power condition. So what does this mean? What it mostly means is the reliability of getting the 1/1 into your hand is much, 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 much lower. So given the limited amount of sculpts that you have as an Overlord player, you will probably, in all likelihood, have to spend one of them to get this card into your hand. Is it a big deal? Probably not, assuming you do it in a relatively timely manner. There's a number of ways you can do it in deck 1 that are not very clunky and can work just fine. If it's in the waiting room, you can pick it up with the Shoutout combo. You can pick it up with a goat. You can brainstorm it if it's still in your deck. You can drop search it if it's still in your deck. You can wait till it's in stock and then pick it up later with a goat in deck 2 if you feel like. But here's what you absolutely cannot do. Wait until level 2 to find it. That is something you should not and cannot do. Because what will happen is as the game progresses, the chance of it going into your clock and becoming completely inaccessible goes higher and higher. And once you're at level 2, you're at peak danger for screwing yourself over. So don't do that. Just don't do that. Like, make room for it. Like, cut down on one other sculpt that you have to make during the game. You have to do it. The other consequence of this is that your mid game is slightly compromised because the typical Ein snowball that pushes the game very powerfully downhill can be disrupted by getting reversed. So if you change into an Eins, and that one's pretty much safe, but if you get a second one, that one is definitely not safe and can't be safe. So you will have to consider the fact that your opponents can bounce your second Eins, your opponents can reverse your second Eins, your opponents can send your second Eins to the Shadow Realm. So you will need to be somewhat cautious doing multiple changes at level 2. You will need to consider what your opponent's deck does and where it sends cards that are early played so that you don't get sent somewhere you don't want to go. And then finally, it makes it very challenging to create a board that is resistant to avoiding the tap counter. So because only one Eins is hexproof, they can bounce the other Eins and create a lane that they can attack into. They can also use downgrades to downgrade your 1/1 or downgrade your 3/2. So there's most of the pain points are felt early in the game, but there are some later game pain points where you were used to, just kind of gripping the board, like being able to death grip the board, and now you sort of can't do that. Which is fine. It's probably better for the game in those contexts. There is very little your opponent can do about letting you resolve markers, assuming that you play conservatively and you don't put the 1/1 down prior to doing your first bar combo. If you are afraid that your opponent has downgraded a back row attacking, and any way to pull your back.
Macro attacking.
Yeah. Eminence has a card that can attack the backstage.
Oh, fair enough. All right.
Or if they have a card that pulls a character from the backstage to the center stage, you frequently will leave lanes due to Shoutout's combo or bouncing or whatever that will make you vulnerable to those type of mechanics. So if you believe that your opponent has those type of mechanics, you should not put the 1/1 down. Just keep it in your hand. And then when you're about to do your first bar combo, then you put it down. Then you get all the markers and your hexproof, and that can't be disrupted. And then on the following turn, you put the markers into memory, and that can't be disrupted. So there is a way to make the markers go to memory without counterplay. But you need to be cautious about when you do it. And so that's kind of the biggest deal about the Overlord Restrict. I like it. It does disrupt the overall flow of the deck enough to make it slightly less reliable than it was before. This is all predicated on what the cards that are out currently. After set 3, things will become much, much easier. And, dare I say, problematic. So, we'll see how it goes. But, having a much more powerful level 0 game and better waiting room access will not hurt this deck going forward.
Yeah. And I think Bang Dream, we're just expecting, like, if you still want to run it,
you still can.
But obviously you have to choose a thing here to lose.
Yes.
And your most likely target is like it's probably like Fumio was always never going to be picked, and then it's one of Buns or the Changer. The Changer keeps the ultra floor, whereas the Buns keeps the Buns.
So my guess is most people would choose the Changer because Bang Dream's most unifying, enduring characteristic is creating very compressive states that are hard to punish. And the Changer allows you to create those game states and maintain them. With Bang Dream's Restrict being the way that it is, there are now very few ways to punish heavy compression in the mid game. And many decks have no remedy at all. Oshinoko has very few remedies, and they're all extremely expensive. Overlord has no remedies. Hololive has no remedies. So, if your opponent starts to compress in a very powerful way, there is very little that most decks can do about it. Now, they can punish you at 3 if you're a psycho and you don't ever pay down. But Bang Dream has lots of good ways to pay down. So the biggest consequence of this restrict will be the death of the Tamori deck. Tamori badly needed the decompressive tools in order to win with its combo, and now it does not have them and probably can't win, not consistently. Speaking as a person who has played enough SAO and has milled enough of his own deck to try to find climaxes to win a game, I will tell you that
What do you mean? You mean you don't play enough Tamori where you're just like, you get the perfect mill down so that you can do the combo, and you can search out every vanilla character in the deck and then just mill only climaxes? You're not doing that?
Yeah, so this is just Marine now. And and the problem is that Marine isn't probably good enough to win in most game states that are challenging game states. So I think the biggest consequence, and the multi-attack deck even more so, where it was heavily dependent on decompression and now has lost it. So I think the biggest consequence of all this is that Dolores will become the highest floor finisher that Bang Dream has, and will become preferable to other finishers. You probably can still play Tamori. You just have to be acknowledge and be aware that your chances of dealing significant damage are not good. It is likely you will get 3 to 4 burn 2s, and that kind of has to be good enough.
Yeah, it feels like there's kind of a way, a sect of people that are playing Tamori not as some kind of attempt at ultra finishing, more so of I can discard 2 to heal 2.
Well, right, and so that's the thing.
Or is it heal 2, right?
It is.
Yeah. So.
But that's the thing is that that style was decompression focused. It was okay, I hit you with Buns for Luck, then I heal down, then whenever you combo off and don't kill me, I Fumio you, and then now I can kill you with my milled off remaining climaxes.
Sure.
And it's just going to be a harder strategy to execute going forward. Not impossible. But Locke and Dolores are now, I think, a little bit above the other finishers.
I don't even know about Locke, dude. Like, Locke was also like really wanted Fumio. And if you watch our coverage, that I'm definitely out of, by the time you're hearing this, I'm definitely out of the editing dungeon, and hopefully all of the audio is okay, and if some of it's not okay, well, including this episode, well, you know what, we didn't have that much time to get rush shipping on all the equipment replacement, and life's hard. Life's been hard. But so,
yeah,
you can watch the finals and you can see an immediate example of, man, that Locke finisher really could have used that Fumio right there.
Yeah, and honestly, I agree. And I think you could experiment a little bit here with playing either Buns for Luck or Fumio, and I think Fumio is probably more salient. Like, as soon as your opponent kind of senses that you have Buns for Luck, they'll probably deter most situations in which you can use it. And there's not a lot of compressive decks in the meta outside of Bang Dream. So I'm not sure how well Buns for Luck will behave in the future, but Fumio has got one of those enduring, like, profiles of, like, that works really well against some decks in the meta. Oshinoko hates that mechanic. Because frequently their game plan is to compress heavily while doing their first round of finishing, then kill you with their second round of finishing after you don't kill them. But they've probably decompressed a good amount of their resources at that point, and so the Fumio really makes it hard for them to live. So there's a lot of ways to use Fumio in the meta, but I will say that if you cut the changer, you do have to compensate for that in some other way to manage your deck speed and, like, deck control. So I don't know what that compensation mechanism looks like, but it's something to be aware of, that if you were kind of playing, if you've been playing Bang Dream and you've gotten used to the changer, if you take it away, it will feel much, much worse while you're getting used to playing one level 1 combo again instead of 2. So that is something to consider.
Yep. But all that aside, we have
the HoloLive one as well, I guess.
Dude, I totally forgot that HoloLive got one.
Yeah, so the standby deck now is even slightly more weak. They added Polka to their current choice restrict.
Dude, I forgot about that so hard. Yeah, you don't get Polka anymore in terms of the choice with the Mio and the Luna.
Yeah.
Which makes it measurably worse, I feel like.
Yeah,
that was kind of like the key. That was like one of the key deck milling pieces. You got trigger checking, you got top checking, right? It clears the way for your standby target. It performs very well in the loop of the deck.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if you're, say, a Bushiroad employee looking at the similarities between the various different 8x HoloLive decks doing well enough, that is in fact just one of the cards that has been consistently in the list.
Yeah, and if you watched any of our previous coverage of BCS Duluth, Mochi Watmano used that card to great effect in some games. It was one of his more consistent pluses in a lot of games because they don't run that much of the combo, so they're relying on the Polka to produce additional hand size, not only by bouncing back to hand, but also by you doing the pay 1 and check 4. So it's good in a lot of ways. This is just another way to chip at the consistency of a deck that it doesn't kill it, but
and I'm not really sure how much.
It.
I'm not even sure really how much it really deserved it, but yeah, I mean, screw you guys, I guess.
If you're 20% of every event, it's just going to be only a matter of time.
I can't imagine that the 8x specific.
Well, maybe not 8x specifically, but what I mean is that, like, it's not like here's the end. Here's the moral of the story. This is your fault, Mochi Watmano. This is your fucking fault, and you can just own that. And it's your fault. Unfortunately, being
Mochi Watmano,
being
killed HoloLive 8x for the rest of
being good
humanity.
at Weiss Schwarz, then
Okay. I mean, not for nothing, there was somebody who topped in Philly with Hololive 8 but like the first one that Mochi Wetmano took to Houston, I think. Or it was like similar.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, so all that aside, with that, drum roll, Steve, what the hell are you playing?
So
In our spike corner. This is segment transitions.
Yeah.
What are you playing, man?
Luckily, the music will cover this transition to the spike corner.
Yeah.
So that all of the audience knows that we're gonna be talking about Worlds.
This has been a very quickly put together episode in time. My life is a little stressful for different reasons than Steve. Steve needs to play as much Weiss Schwarz as possible. I need to export many videos. I'm like, we're recording this right before I'm kind of gonna get home and really start bearing down on everything now that I'm kind of a little more mentally and emotionally available, we'll say.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a lot because that's the life. But what are you playing, man?
So
clue us in.
So obviously, part of this process was waiting for the restrict to come. I've been adamant for weeks, if you've been listening to episodes, that a restrict would come before Worlds. It almost always does, and this one is going to hit right before Worlds. So slops to Bushiroad once again for shaking the competitive tree right at the very end. But I qualified with Overlord by winning BCS Pasadena, and at the time it felt like it was reasonable into the meta that existed at that time, and it's always been the type of deck where when it starts to snowball, it's hard to beat, and once it gets downhill, it's very difficult to lose. Now, if you watch any of the BCS Pasadena games, I was never downhill. It was frequently a full level behind every game. But I qualified with it, and I've been playing it a lot, and I'm comfortable with it. And I don't think the restrict makes it impossible to win. I think it does make it slightly more challenging to win, but I think the meta is more suited for it. So I'm going to play Overlord at Worlds, and so kind of talking about that lack of the second assist, even
how relevant is it gonna be that it's kind of hard to keep a second nines on the board?
It's gonna matter.
It feels like it really matters because
it does.
After the wipe, Oshinoko's in the format. Even Bang Dream, arguable. I mean, no, Bang Dream just can, right? If they feel the early play healer,
they need the 2-1.
No, you're a 9-5. Sorry, you're an 11. Okay, they're what?
9-5.
They
10-5 to climax.
10. Oh wait, they have no power.
It heals for one, motherfucker. Do you think it gets power?
Yeah. True. So they need the assist that they were already playing?
Yes, they will need the assist, and they need me to not have backups.
Okay, true. Are there extra backups now? Does that matter? Do we think?
Depends, right?
Big if maybe?
Like, it's one of those things where how do you keep the game stable, right? But also, you have the Cocutus, which can raise the power of Ions to 12k during your opponent's turn, and gives a hand on core. So if you really believe that your opponent's going to threaten you, then you could sculpt that. The other thing you can do is the classic. It's called Pay 3, and how it works is you look at your stock, and then you remove 3 of it. That's the other thing you can do.
I don't know that sounds like a really good snowbally line to pay 3.
Depends
but
on
yeah.
whether you just triple canceled it too.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, buddy. All right. Yeah, my bad.
Because the reality
true.
is that once you have 2 stock and you build it to 5, paying 3 will put you right back at 5 on the following turn.
Yeah, you just don't need that stock for anything else.
And 5 is the once you have 2 Eins on board, you kind of don't.
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I mean, let's say hypothetically that this all happens, and now you're looking at a deck of like, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 with maybe 1 to 2 climaxes in it. Is that?
Figure it out. You're grown. You're a big boy. You got to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm just asking questions.
Yes.
Just asking questions.
Yes. So the amount of times that people got double 1/1 on board were already probably the minority of games to begin with. It was nice, but a lot of times it didn't happen anyway. And also a lot of times people are in their finishing turn the turn after you blow them up. So if you do the board wipe and then vanillas, and then your opponent is not level 3, then it's, there's like a window there where like they can do some things. But a lot of times your opponent's level 3 already. And so if they're level 3 while you're level 2, and then they'll either push you to 3 but they can't reverse the Eins you got. And then you'll just play the other ones and you won't care if they get reversed because like the game's ending. Or you're level 3, they're not level 3, and then at that point is when you need to concern yourself with like keeping as much on the board as you can. And it may be a situation where you need to pick up more rest counters than you would pick up normally because you can pay 1 instead of paying 3. I think the math supports that. And it may be a situation where you may not... If you have 4 goats in the waiting room already, it may be a scenario where you just don't put the 5th one in. Like, if you have it in your hand, you just hold it. Because then you can just goat the Eins back into your hand and then replay it to the board if you needed to. But I think there are a number of ways to mitigate. It's just a question of what the game state looks like going into that. Because again, once your opponent hits 3, now the rest counter is available and live, and you want to use it for its resting ability. So you can also mitigate certain game states by like positioning your Eins correctly. So if you're facing Oshinoko, for example, you never, ever put the Eins without the effects in the center. That's just asking to get it reversed. So if you put it on the end, then you're 11k, and they have like 1 card that they can get without getting a support and a climax that can get over it. So it's like, okay, either they sculpt the 2/1, then sculpt the climax, then play the climax and have a healer, then they can get over it, or they need the 2/1 that they don't run very many copies of that gets like a gazillion power, the Kana, or they can't get over. So it's one of those things where a lot of it's... I find that my Eins doesn't get beat over nearly as often as it just gets bounced. Like, they'll put the 2/1 down, they'll be like, go away. And so that stinks. Because it opens up a lane that you weren't expecting to be open, and it's going to be big hits. And you're generally just not a very compressive deck to begin with. The amount of goats that you have greatly determines what your compression profile looks like throughout the game. So if you only get 3 goats or less, then you're vulnerable to big chunks throughout the game, because at no point are you going to have like that like really big compression. I think the amount of times I've had 8 stock in an Overlord game has been like, I could count it on one hand. I mean, that just does not happen. You need every resource you have, and you're spending them all the time. So you might be able to generate a fake 8 stocks worth of stock by getting 5 markers, but at the end of the day, your deck is not compressive. And so when lanes open up because of bouncing or whatever, then yeah, you become vulnerable to getting big damage in. The Maid helps mitigate bad game states where you couldn't play the tap counter before. So it's much more likely you'll be able to play the tap counter, or your opponent will have to respect the tap counter and play around it. They'll either have to side attack or sculpt their own solutions, because now, instead of having some shitter in the third lane or having to have triple ions, you now have the maid sitting in the third lane, which is -2 souls if they side attack. So you're taking that every day of the week. And so if it's ions maid, then they have to side attack twice. There's no choice unless they sculpt bouncing. So yeah, you're fine with that. That's a lot easier to get down on the board than triple ions. So there's some, and the maid helps get climaxes. Obviously, it has all of its other utility. It beats over at level 2. It's very good. It's a very good card. I don't think the Shoutout is super good. I feel like it does yield better mid-game resources, but I think ultimately as the game goes on, it becomes more of a liability, and eventually you don't want to play it at all or use its ability at all, because the timing of it is, you can't just like clock yourself willy-nilly in Weiss Schwarz, you'll just die. So you do have to time that ability a little bit to sync up with like when your refreshes are, when you're going to heal, and those type of things. So I think the Shoutout is a lot harder to use contextually than the maid. So
yeah,
I think that's kind of some like baseline thoughts about it.
Maid Overlord.
I did consider playing Oshinoko. I've been playing Oshinoko in case they did do like some kind of murder restrict to had they said ban the 1/1, I would not play Overlord. Obviously, I would have played Oshinoko. I think Oshinoko's floor is very high. But I think also, as I played it in a few cups and I've been playing it, off and on, I hate Icy Tail finishers more and more every time I use them.
Every time you resolve it and you just get like the full whiff or like the mostly whiff, and you're like, how?
When it's burn 1, heal 1 when it's pay 1, ditch 1 for burn 1, heal 1, it feels so horrid. Or like you badly need to heal because you're at like 3-4 and it just won't resolve, and you're like, my opponent's playing Bang Dream, he has 2 different level 1s. Or my opponent's playing Oshinoko, he has 2 different level 1s. Like, there's just a number of decks in the meta right now that are really 1+ dense. And
yeah, it's not all 20 zeros.
It's like there's not like 25 0 decks in the game, and people are aware. Like, they know that Oshinoko is considered to be one of the best decks in the format. They know how its fucking finisher works. And so they're like, yeah, I'm going to run 18 zeros and then the climaxes, and then it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah. And then
level
people,
as many zeros as you can. You put as many zeros as you can into your hand. And you just do the best you can.
Put in your stock.
Yeah.
All that, that whole thing.
So, yeah, I mean, people they're not going to just do nothing and, like, let you get away with it. But at the same time, it's a very strong deck, has lots of good tools. Brainstorm 5 is clearly overpowered. I have no idea what they were thinking, but
yeah, I don't know. As somebody who has resolved triple Acura at some point in his life, which, if you don't recall or you're new here, is a review top end that is on reverse vanilla icy twice, where I have milled the bottom of somebody's deck 24 full fucking cards and hit all of 3 climaxes. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
So, I believe it will be the most played deck at Worlds.
And how do you feel about going into it with Overlord?
It's fine.
Just fine?
It's not great. It's okay. All the games against Bang Dream and Oshinoko are predicated in the same way.
Okay.
And the predicate, like, what the question being asked in all those games is the same, which is, can they reach a state in which you cannot vanilla them? Bang Dream can reach a state where I cannot land vanillas. And if they do, it's game over. Like, if they get to level 2 and they're just staring down the barrel of like 12 stock and they just block everything and spam level 3 healers, I'm going to lose. And there's very few ways around it. At that point, I don't have any strategies that will make the game more stable. What I have to do is hope they stumble. Like, something bad needs to happen to them in order for me to come back into the game. So, like, double trigger, triple trigger, drawing like 3 climaxes, or like over compressing and then making your deck unstable. Like, something bad has to happen to you. Otherwise, I'm just gonna get strangled to death under the weight of like all of your resources. That's just what happens. Against Oshinoko is a similar thing where if they can constantly push through the entire deck, brainstorming 10 every turn and like never clocking and resolving their door combo over and over again, then the game becomes very hard. The only upside is that Oshinoko tends to not reach the very compressive states that Bang Dream can reach. So I'm not punished nearly as hard for not removing all their cards every turn. Against Bang Dream, I will go out of my way to make plays to remove their cards, because if you don't remove Oblivionis, you will lose. You will lose so fast. Every time they resolve a bar combo and it goes to stock, you die a little. And like, if they do it 3 or 4 times, it's very hard to win the game. So against Oshinoko, it's similar. If they get to reach very compressive states, then it becomes very, very hard for me to win. And if I can't vanilla, then there's just no way. The only upside is that their finisher is uncertain. I don't have that many zeros, and I have the tap counter, which is not an event, and so they have to either sculpt bounce or they have to respect. And if they have to respect, then it's like they don't have that much damage. So a lot of times they just can't kill me because there's not enough damage to work with. All I have to do is block like 2 vanillas and then I kind of live.
Sure, yeah.
So that's how those matchups go. Is like, if the game goes fast, if they start to take too much damage and it gets downhill, then they're gonna lose, because Ainz is relentless, because you're getting poked constantly for burn damage. You're getting poked for they're healing themselves over and over again. And if you chain into the bar over and over again, it's just a nightmare because you're getting constantly chipped at.
So in a few words, you're the beatdown.
Yeah, so I need to be on the beatdown in most games in order to win. It's much harder when I'm not. It can be done. It's just not ideal. And usually, despite the damage situation in Weiss, whoever has the least life is not the person that's not on the beatdown. I need to clarify that for people who come from other card games or are unfamiliar with what being on the beatdown is. So it's a magic term. It means whoever has the tempo of the game, and tempo has almost nothing to do with how much life you have. So I can have all the tempo in the game and still lose. I can have all the tempo in the game and win, but it has to do with who's dictating the action of the game. And in a lot of situations, when you're facing Overlord, the tempo swing comes at the board wipe. So they are getting the action dictated to them until the board wipe, and then from the board wipe on, if they start to dictate the tempo of the game, you will lose, because their tempo is going to be powerful. And so it's hard to replay an entire board. Now, if you've been setting up for it and you know it's coming and you're very good at playing against Overlord, you've played against it a bunch in the past or whatever, then you know how to like minimize the damage of it, make it as discomforting as possible for them. But ultimately, once it's like 1 Ainz, 2 Ainz, 3 Ainz, then yeah, the downhill spiral of the game becomes very hard to slow down. So there's a feeling about how those matchups go, and you can kind of sense it on both ends. But I would not be surprised if most decks are teching something to manage some of these matchups that they believe to be unfavorable. There are cards you can tech in against Overlord to make them very annoyed. So whether people will do that or not, I have no idea. But I wouldn't. If in the reverse scenario, just because like it's gonna be like me and Roy and no fucking buddy else. Okay, so I don't know if you think that's worth your while, I mean, go nuts. But like, I don't think it is. So
yeah,
it's just a question of like how much you want to not lose that matchup, if you think it's a real problem.
Sure. Yep. All right. That's kind of our Worlds preview. It's Oshi. It's Overlord. It's whatever people feel like. A lot of Worlds tends to be whatever people feel like to some degree.
I think there's
You know,
always
like,
yeah.
Kokorin has, previously took Adventure Time and even made it to top 8. There's just, you look down the list of prior Worlds years and kind of like the decks that were brought, and there's plenty of meta, obviously, but there are some people that, I mean, what's better than winning with the cool thing?
Yeah, it's a mishmash of meta decks, pet decks, and then the dark horses, the chefs of the Weiss Schwarz community, where they're cooking something up.
Now I know I'm really asking for it with this one, but over under 5 Eminence players.
I just don't know.
Losing losing punishment to be determined, but over under 5 Eminence players. 5 is in the under.
I would say under. Yeah. Biggest thing about it is lack of card availability. If you're already in Japan, you're screwed. And the other problem is,
actually, we can't even make this a competition. I would also take the under, and it's because of this promo thing. There's like a bunch of promos apparently that are like locked in box topper, supply set.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some related to like events.
Yeah.
Or somewhat.
There's a number of promos, some from the supply set, some from other places.
I think there's a helmet locked in the supply set. Or we don't know where it is.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where the card access is going to be a problem, and timing, right? So the set comes out on Friday.
When we're recording this, it's Tuesday.
You basically have 3 or 4 really good testing days with the actual cards. Now, we've had a chunk of it in preview for a while, so it's possible that you already have a fairly decent handle on like the general gameplay of it, and
like 8 gate with the ultimate shadow top end is decent.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah,
decently.
If I were gonna
good.
play Eminence, that would be the deck I would play. The thing about Eminence, and the reason I wouldn't play it at Worlds, and I'm not playing it at Worlds, is because I feel like if you want to win a lot of Weiss Schwarz games, you need to have something to point at in your deck to be like, this is the reason I'm going to win. And Eminence just doesn't have any card like that. Like a card that is borderline unfair and is the flagship of the deck. It's basically the reason to pilot it. Because in 1K1 Slop Land, all 1K1 Slop decks are essentially the same. So what we're looking for is what makes you special, right? Why this and nothing else? And like, hand to God, if Oshinoko did not have that brainstorm, half the people playing it would not play it. Because the rest of the deck is pretty fine. It's fine. There's nothing bad about it. It's just not superior. That card is superior. So much so that it makes the entire rest of the deck better. Because you have more hand size than you're supposed to have all the time. And not only does it produce more hand size with the brainstorm, but also produces hand size half the time by bouncing cards back into your hand. So you basically have an 8-card hand 50% of the time. And that's just such a powerful interaction. And I feel like you have to have something to point at like that, to say, okay, the reason I'm playing this deck is this interaction is broken. And if you can't point at anything like that, then it's like, I mean, it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Like, you can run it. I'm sure you could do well. I'm sure it can win. But it just doesn't have anything that makes it stand head and shoulders above its peers and be like, look at this thing that's really fucking cool. So that's kind of my problem with Eminence. If we were in a more interaction heavy meta, then you could point at the TD shadow and be like, this is the reason we play this, so that these interaction frauds cannot steal the game from me. But right now, the only deck that's really interacting is Overlord. Because Nikke is the biggest loser in this meta shift. Because Oshinoko has a very, very, very favorable matchup against Nikke. And when the most popular deck in the format is good against your deck, that is not a good look for tournament play. So there will be people playing Nikke at Worlds. It's guaranteed. I doubt it will be very many. Because that matchup sounds very, very hard. And Nikke's primary loss condition is losing control of the board. And if Oshinoko wants you to lose control of the board, you will. So I don't know that you can, in good conscience, pilot that without being... And your main source of counterplay is countered by their finisher. So I just can't imagine you would want to walk into that. That sounds horrible. So yeah, because the interaction is so low in the meta right now, the cool one lane finisher that they have isn't as big of a deal. So
yep.
So we'll see. There will be some people playing it for sure.
Yep. I think that's pretty much it. If you are going to Worlds and you want to hang out, just kind of let us know, man. I'm kind of down. Well, let me know. Steve's cooked. Nobody, bro. I'm barely gonna see this guy. I think we had to pencil it in like twice, including the day that I land.
No, we got the cafe thing.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. 2 times total.
And then Kobe?
Yeah. 3. Sure. Okay, yeah. On this 10-day trip that we're taking?
It's not 10 days. It's like 9. Is it? No. 9? 9.
I'm going for effectively 10.
Because it's like the day after I do.
Well, I get there 30th and I effectively leave the 10th.
Yeah, I'm leaving on the 8th.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I have a 10-day trip. Yeah. So, if you want to hang out with Steve, big if maybe.
True.
If you want to hang out with me, yeah, I don't know, let me know, man.
Yeah.
I have a few things on Yield bucket list to still take care of, which I don't know what that says about me, having already been twice and still having things that were very easy to fit in that just did not get done. But Sensoji, that's gotta happen.
Oh, have you never been?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sensoji's cool.
Yeah. Sensoji. All of the review collabs are before and after the trip that are happening.
That stinks.
So that's great. That really saved me some money. That's really a great financial assist right there that I can pour immediately into. I booked it, perhaps not in a wise manner, and perhaps it will end up being a waste of time and money, but hopefully not. I did book one of that stupid pillow fitting service.
That's gonna be hype, in my opinion.
So don't ask for me on May 6th.
Are you going to Nagoya?
I'll be in Nagoya.
Nice.
And I will at least be able to try. I think there's like a miso sauce katsu. That's like kind of a thing
Regional?
that you can get. Yeah.
Nice.
Which that gives me at least one reason that isn't a pillow to pay like the $75 Shinkansen down and then back up.
I mean, you should see what
for
else
the $250 pillow.
Yeah, there's some cool shrines to do.
There's some cool
castle?
museums. There's a castle.
Nice.
There's a good amount of things to do.
Oh.
And it will definitely not just be $400 for a pillow.
Yeah, you got Legoland Japan in Nagoya.
We do.
Nice.
I don't know that I could get in with my last minute ass trying to go their ass, but maybe.
You could definitely go to the castle though. The castle looks cool.
Yeah, that does look cool.
One of my friends wants to go to Himeji Castle. Wanted to go to Himeji Castle right up until I showed him where Himeji was.
Where's Himeji?
Go to Osaka. Keep going.
That's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough.
That's far.
That's tough.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, other than that, I don't have that much planned for this trip, to be honest. I'm kind of just there to eat good food and kind of process recent heavy news and like vibe. Well,
if you want to go to Hakone, you can go with us.
That's just being mean to the listeners now. I know somebody did reach out to us. He's like, I like listening to you guys and living vicariously through y'all for like travel, but like actively making travel plans with me feels a little rude, where it's like, yeah, man, you want to go to this place with us? I'm like, yeah, I'm probably down, you know. That's super relevant to the podcast listeners that are spending their time here right now.
This whole conversation is unfortunately like, yeah, probably
there's some level of it's kind of cool to talk about what we're about to do,
yeah.
Like, and we've done it before, but like planning, ouch.
Yeah,
that drives another stake through the heart. But yeah, I mean, when is it? And I'm down, probably.
Yeah, I'll let you know after. But yeah, it'll be obviously I gotta troll around, you know.
Actually, the real funny thing is I'm now on I'm on a courier duty. I'm already on the hook for 2 pairs of Nitsuka tigers for a cousin and my sister.
Is that a shoe?
Yeah, it's a shoe brand.
Nice.
And matcha. I really got the other ear of it, the other end of it, whenever one of my cousins was complaining about the tariffs that they had just recently paid for the matcha that they had just gotten, where it was like $20 worth of matcha and then about $60 extra worth of hassle. And I was like, we can, yeah.
I do love getting coffee in Japan.
Something can be arranged.
It's never cheap, but
yeah. But that's our show for today. A little bit of a short one, thankfully, for exactly me. For the rest of you, sorry. If you have like a longer drive, I mean, yeah. There's other episodes. You could just put on all of our BCS Philly coverage. It's basically the same thing.
It's actually
just put on that or the Duluth playlist, and you've got a couple hours there. You know?
And if you ever thought that we actually knew what the cards did. Well, you'll be quickly disenchanted.
No, don't say that.
Because
don't say that.
I definitely guessed wrong at least a couple times.
All right, well, that's our show for today. Tune in next time. After your next deck out, don't you forget to take the refresh point.